talk about Roswell. You say that data from Roswell could literally change our place in the universe, but that you want to see this data. What exactly would you be looking for?
Well, we have conflicting reports from government, as you mentioned. On the one hand, we had a testimony at the U.S. Congress under oath by David Grush, who says there are programs for retrieval and reverse engineering of extraterrestrial craft in crash sites. On the other hand, you have the former director of the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office in the Pentagon saying that they had access to all the information and there is nothing there other than things that they can understand as human-made. And the question is, who is telling us the full story? We can wait for the government to tell us the full information it has. We might wait forever for that. Instead, we know that the sky is not classified, the oceans are not classified, so we could retrieve new information ourselves. And that's my interest these days as a scientist.
I understand. And I also want to get your take on this recent research paper questioning if aliens are already walking among us. The 42-page paper by 3 researchers, 2 of whom are from Harvard, urging the scientific community to seriously consider the idea that aliens may already be present on Earth. Cryptoterrestrials, they talk about, and specifically the possibilities that UFOs could be concealed, that aliens could already be underground. And it points to sightings clustered around lakes and volcanoes, which they theorize need to be investigated as potential entry or exit points. Now, this really blows one's mind. What do you make of this?
Well, there are many possibilities, and the key is to collect evidence that will rule out some possibilities and rule in others. Science fiction is based on possibilities that other humans imagined, but it doesn't bring us closer to knowing whether we have a partner. And, this is the most romantic question in science. Is there someone out there? Are we alone, or should we look for someone out there? And the best way to find the answer to this romantic question is by collecting evidence. And this paper that you mentioned does not provide any new evidence. The Galileo Project that I'm leading operates already one observatory watching the entire sky 24/7, looking for unusual objects. We're building 2 additional observatories. All 3 of them will operate in tandem within the coming year. We have looked at 500,000 objects so far. We haven't seen anything anomalous, but we are searching. And, the advice you give to anyone that feels lonely, anyone that claims, where is everybody, like Enrico Fermi asked, is, you should be proactive. You should search for a partner. You are not that attractive that everyone will come to you. You have to search for them. And that's the approach that we are taking within the Galileo Project. And hopefully within a year or 2, we will have something.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Looking for the hard data to answer such a romantic question. What is your response to the Pentagon's March report saying that there is no evidence of UFOs and that people simply misinterpreted what they heard or saw?
Well, I think they argue that 97% of the events that they looked into from the past can be explained. But it's really about the 1 out of a million events, because we know there is a lot of things going in the sky that are human-made or natural. And, they're unable to visit past events and figure out what happened. So I think, it's one way for them to basically argue that, they're doing their job for national security purposes. That's their day job. My day job as a scientist is to figure out what lies outside the solar system. And that's not part of national security. It's part of science.
Understood. And I do want to ask the latest in your research. I know you recovered these small magnetic spherules from the Pacific Ocean, and you believe they came from a watermelon-sized object that collided with Earth in 2014, potentially a piece of alien-built technology. There have been critics saying this is coal ash. You are testing it. What are you finding now?
We found that it's definitely not coal ash based on 55 elements from the periodic table that we compared to the composition of coal ash. We also figured that the composition is different from solar system materials. So it's very likely that we found material from outside the solar system, but we didn't find big pieces as of yet. The material we found was tiny droplets, less than a millimeter in size. And so we hope to go again to the same site, this time with a robot that we will put on the ocean floor, a remotely operated vehicle that will give us a video feed. And if we do find bigger pieces, and by the way, that mission will cost us $6.5 million. We are seeking a potential funder for that mission as of now. Then, we could tell easily whether it was natural, a rock, or some artificial gadget. If we find the core of it, it may have buttons on it. And the question would be, should we press a button?
The next guest, Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, has suggested the 3I Atlas is actually some type of alien technology sent here from another solar system. And he's come on the show before to lay out the scientific reasoning behind that startling hypothesis. Well, this weekend he made headlines again when he said that the object could actually be on a mission to release, quote, mini probes that could invade Earth. Avi Loeb joins us now. He's head of the Galileo Project, director of Harvard University's Institute for Theory and Computation, also the best-selling author of the book Extraterrestrial. Okay, I'll bite. What are these mini probes you're talking about, and how would this even be possible?
Well, there are two possibilities. If it's a technological object, then it might maneuver itself. We haven't seen such a maneuver so far. But the other possibility is that it may release some other objects that reach the planets, and it will continue along its course to the next star. And we just need to keep our eyes on the ball, the way that basketball coaches often say to their team members, because we don't know, but it may well be just a rock which has some ice on the surface that evaporates, in which case we will say it's natural. I defined a new scale last month that is now called the Loeb scale, where 0 is a natural object and 10 is a technological object. And at this point, I give it around a 4. But if it looks like a comet as it comes closer to the sun, I'll reduce the rank closer to 0.
Well, 4 is not 10, so it's actually, you think there's more of a shot that it really is actually just a comet?
Yeah, the reason was that the inferred size of the object was huge. It was between 20 and 46 kilometers, unless there is a dense cloud of dust around it that is scattering sunlight. This is an object, if that is the size of it, that is 1,000,000 times more massive than the previous interstellar objects we've seen, and that's quite unlikely. There is not enough material in interstellar space to bring such a huge object.
The fact that it's unusually large is what's making you doubt that or at least be open to the possibility that it's not just a comet?
That's one aspect, and the second is that the trajectory is aligned with the plane of the planets around the sun. Now, we will get a good image of it when it comes close to Mars on October 3rd. We don't need to wait a lot. And there is a camera called HiRISE on the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter that can image it with a pixel resolution of 30 kilometers. So we should be able to tell how much light is reflected off the object, and from that infer its size. And I very much look forward to that. The fun of doing science is that we are guided by evidence and not prejudice.
Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna is asking NASA to monitor 3I Atlas and to send an orbital spacecraft even closer to it as it passes. That would give, what are the chances that NASA will agree to do that? Because that would certainly give us even more data, right? Even more images.
Yeah, this came because she actually spoke with me on the phone, and I mentioned the paper.
So you put her up to it.
Yeah, and I suggested doing that. NASA has a number of facilities that it can use in space to get us more data, and she did send a formal letter to Sean Duffy, the interim administrator of NASA. We are very much in line in terms of the way we think about this object and about the UAP, that in fact Representative Luna is the chair of the task force that
So-
tomorrow will host a hearing.
So did NASA agree to do this? Have you heard any word? Because time is short, right? This thing is going to be here pretty soon.
Yeah, well, I spoke with the principal investigator of several of the missions, and definitely when the object comes close to Mars, the high-rise camera will be used, and several other observatories will look at it. So I'm very much hopeful. I look forward to the data.
All right, millions around the globe and maybe even beyond are celebrating World UFO Day. Okay, July 2nd is the anniversary of the 1947 crash of an unidentified flying object in Roswell, New Mexico, which the Army later said was a scientific balloon. 75 years later, the government still says there's no evidence of non-human life. But that narrative has started to shift since NewsNation's bombshell interview with UFO whistleblower David Grush.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
This jaw-dropping NewsNation exclusive leading to congressional hearings and a federal UFO program. A member of the intelligence community and a pioneer in getting to the truth is NewsNation special correspondent Ross Coulthart. Sir, I love when you are on the show because each time it kind of gives me chills because part of me wants to know, the other part of me is like, I don't want to know, Ross. As someone who has spent decades investigating UAPs, how has the perception of UFOs changed over the last year, specifically after David Grush's claims went public?
Good morning, Nick. Well, I can tell you there's been a real drift in the public's skepticism about the government's claims on UFOs. A vast majority, nearly 66% of Americans think the US government is concealing information about UFOs, and that's from a very recent poll. And I think there's good reason for that skepticism. I think even senators, senior people in the Defense Department and intelligence community are now saying quite openly that they believe there's a lot more to be revealed by the US Department of Defense, the intelligence community, and indeed by the White House about what the government really knows. And I don't think the public's buying it anymore. I think the public is basically ready for answers. And frankly, a lot of people are telling me they want this to be an election issue.
They clearly want it to be top of mind because you just mentioned that poll showing that 65% of Americans believe intelligent life exists beyond Earth. Why are more people taking the conversation more seriously, Ross? Is it because we're talking about it more, or is it because they have less faith in maybe political leaders always telling them the truth?
I think, to be honest with you, I think Americans have every reason to be skeptical about their government. They've been lied to in the past as a pretext for going to war. And I do think that the evidence is increasingly suggesting that the American government is, and incredible as this may sound, it is concealing its knowledge of a non-human intelligence. And as you know, I'm hearing this not just from David Grush, but from multiple sources who are allegedly working within what's called the Legacy Program, which is a secret program being operated by the US government involving the retrieval of non-human technology. And I have to say, yes, this particular day that we're celebrating, World UFO Day, it honours the memory of a day, July the 2nd, 1947, when the Roswell crash happened. But I think the interesting thing is there's been a lot more crashes since, and those recoveries, those retrievals of craft continue to this day. And it's incredible as that may sound, there are now very authoritative people in the defence and intelligence community saying that the government needs to come straight about this, that essentially it's not being honest with the American public. And I think if you look at the legislation that's been drafted by the Congress demanding that the various arms of government disclose what they know about non-human intelligence technology, which is an incredible thing to be written in legislation. If Congress is prepared to write that, it means it knows something. And it does. I can assure you it does.
It's important also to mention, though, even though you spoke with David Grush on the record, you had other sources telling you this information as well. So we will continue to follow this, Ross, because you know we love this stuff. Ross Coulthart, thank you so much, sir.
Good to talk to you, Nick.
Maybe closer to knowing the truth, scientists embarked on a 2-week deep-sea dive into the Pacific Ocean near Papua New Guinea, retrieving possible UFO material from a meteor on the ocean's floor. Pretty cool. Scientists were able to bring back 50 of these tiny droplets that contain material that does not exist in our solar system. One of the scientists who went on the excursion is joining us now. It's Harvard University astrophysicist Avi Loeb. Dr. Loeb, so good to have you. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
So it's my understanding that you have these what you call metallic marbles with you right now. Can you give us a little show and tell and why you believe it's from another place?
Well, I actually got a delivery from FedEx of the materials, and here is one of the vials that contains some of these spherules that we call them.
Can you take it out? Are you allowed to touch them?
Yeah, actually, we picked them up with tweezers that were embedded in black powder, which is volcanic ash that was attracted to the magnets on a sled that we dragged over the ocean floor at a depth of 2 kilometers. It was almost an impossible mission, but we were able to find 50 of those, and there are many more in the materials that we collected. And they appear as millimeter size, milligram in mass, marbles, metallic marbles. My daughter asked if she can put one on a necklace, and I said, they're so small you can't thread them.
Yeah, but what are they, doctor?
Yeah, so they are the molten droplets from the surface of an object. The first one that humans ever identified as coming from outside the solar system, bigger than half a meter in size, about 500 kilograms, that exploded over the Pacific Ocean in 2014 as it collided with Earth. And it was moving faster than 95% of all the stars in the vicinity of the sun, and moreover, was tougher in material strength than even iron meteorites, than all 272 space rocks cataloged by NASA.
And doctor, if this happened, 10 years ago, why now? And why did you suspect that this meteor in particular at the bottom of the ocean would have signs of alien life? What tipped you off?
Well, it took us 5 years to actually recognize that it's not bound to the sun. And the US government confirmed it at the 99.999% confidence. And then we realized that it must be tougher than all space rocks that NASA cataloged. And it moved faster than 95% of the stars. So that raised the possibility that it may be artificial in origin, just like Voyager that we launched to interstellar space. Imagine it in 1 billion years colliding with a planet. It would appear as a meteor. So we went there and we found the materials from that meteor, and now we're analyzing them in the laboratories at Harvard University, UC Berkeley, and the Bruker Corporation in Germany.
Wow. Well, I can hear your enthusiasm. To have been a fly on the wall with y'all or in the ocean when y'all were doing this would have been something. I also wanted your take on this, Doctor. How is the government reacting to all the recent public reports of alien sightings? Is it softening its stance on the non-existence of alien life, or what say you?
I think the government is agnostic. I actually asked at the Washington National Cathedral, I attended an event with Avril Haines, the director of national intelligence, and I asked her, what do you make of those anomalous phenomena? And she said, I don't know. And so my understanding is the government is puzzled. I'm not sure they know what they have at hand. It's a matter of science. Anything to do with interstellar space has nothing to do with national security.
Yeah. One last question for you, Doctor, before we have to run. Do aliens exist, and should Americans be concerned?
Not concerned at all. I think it's arrogant of us to believe that we are the smartest in our cosmic neighborhood, and we can learn from a smarter kid in our class.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Avi Loeb, professor from Harvard, thank you so much, and congratulations on your findings. Very exciting.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.